I know that you directed quite a bit on Ozark, and that you must have been watching the whole time.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, this was go back to when you're a kid,
Yeah.
where you're watching other people make these decisions. Someone explained to me once, a lot of directing is making choices. Do you want this or do you want that?
Right.
You know, so you're watching that and saying, I want to be doing that.
Yeah, it was Michael Landon on Little House on the Prairie. So right as I was starting to like, you know, I'd done a couple of years of commercials and stuff like that, but I was starting to really kind of notice what this magic trick is of making fake life. Like, okay, so you point, like, you know, because we all look through the paper towel tube when we're a kid, you know, and like, you kind of like, you know, you make that little tunnel that you're seeing stuff through, and outside that tunnel, the stuff you can't see, like that's where all the gat can be, right? Like the microphone and the lights and all that stuff. And so just inside that tube needs to be pristine. And so I started to watch directors and crews kind of create this fake life. And Michael Landon was the director, executive producer, star, writer. Everybody loved him.
What was he like? I just, because I grew up.
He was George Clooney.
My brother's obsessed with Bonanza and has been his whole life, and has made sure that all of us around him have watched almost every episode of Bonanza. So even though, yes, I know he went on to Little House on the Prairie and everything, I just can't believe that's Joe Cartwright.
Yeah.
I can't believe you even knew him.
Right.
What was he like as a person?
He was, George Clooney would be like the perfect comparison today. His ease with people, with the process, with the business, with just Joe on the street.
Yep.
Women are crazy about him. Guys want to be his buddy. And so watching him juggle all those balls and kind of be this leader and presence on a set and be kind with people, but also be kind of a you know, stern boss if he needs to. Or what, that was pretty inspirational. And so that's kind of where it started. That, and my dad never really took me to the park to throw the ball. He'd take me to, you know, art houses, you know, to like watch foreign films and show me what directing is and what acting is and what's good and what's bad.
Thinking, what if he only took you to art houses and showed you Bonanzas? Here's one where these cattle rustlers come to town. Michael. They were going to show a Truffaut film here, but we shut that down. This is going to be the Bonanza where, okay, all right. But that's beautiful that he did that.
Yeah. I mean, in retrospect, it was because it kind of planted the seed.
Yeah.
And then it just kind of went on from there. And I was always sort of tracking it and wanting to do it. And so paying attention to every set I was on after Little House. And then I actually went and spoke to the producers of the Hogan Family when I was 18 to see if there could be a slot for my dad to direct an episode. And while I was talking to the producers about that, they said, yeah, for sure. And do you want to direct one? And I said, yes, please. And ended up doing that. And then that was just sort of like, well, I guess now I can do this. It's a different thing directing stuff in front of a studio audience. It's more like directing a play, you know, to be fair. But still, it was like, got me my DGA card and I thought, you know, and then I was really pursuing that career when Arrested Development came around. I was following James Burrows around.
Yeah.
Jimmy Burrows around and watching. He's for the listeners who don't know, he was like the most famous.
The Babe Ruth of all the great Cheers.
Yeah, sitcom directors.
Friends.
Yeah,
you know.
I was like, well, when I turn my history of doing sitcoms into a positive instead of the negative that I felt it was at the time, and let all that experience maybe get me hired as a director. And so I wanted to be like the new Jimmy Burrows. And then Arrested Development came along.
This just popped in my head, but literally a couple of months ago, I had to go back to Boston quickly, see my family, and I always stay in the same hotel, and I get on my elevator to go down to the lobby, and it stops on another floor, and Jimmy Burrows gets on.
Really?
And this is a hotel that's right on the park, literally maybe 60 feet from the Cheers bar.
Yeah.
And I'm headed down, and Jimmy and I are talking, and I said, hey, Jimmy, you want to go over to the Cheers bar? Hang out? And he went, yeah. No. It's like, I don't know why that popped into my head.
I've been in there.
But yeah.
That's a cool spot.
Sure.
Yeah.
People go there. It's like people that go to one of the Central Perk coffee shops and think they're going to see Jennifer Aniston. They feel cheated that they're not. It's a bar. I think the salvation is if you get into the work. Like for me, when I hear you talk about all this, is that you were very interested in making the stuff and the work. And to me, that was always the salvation. I wanted my goal. If you asked me when I was 20, what's your goal? I would say I would like to have a body of work, which sounds incredibly pretentious, but that's what I wanted. People could like it. Yeah. They could hate it. But I just wanted, when I was done, to have stuff that I had made that...
As a writer.
As a writer, as a whatever, just as a performer, as a whatever.
Did you have on-camera aspirations at that time?
It's so funny. I knew that I could get a job as a writer, but I always was a performer as a writer. So I was always the guy that would get up and do stuff. At Saturday Night Live, I would do things in front of the other writers, start doing something, and they would be laughing.
And Lauren would notice this.
And Lauren would notice it, but also the writers would say, that's a sketch, that guy you're doing right now. And I'm just doing it because something's wrong with me.
Or you're trying to make it more, you're trying to get your point across to the other writers that this is what it needs to be, or that this sketch works if you play it paranoid, and so you gotta like do it.
But not even that. There were often times when I wasn't pitching a sketch. I was just doing.
Yeah.
You've seen it, Sona, where I'll just come in and I'll just be doing something that strikes me as funny or odd, and
that's all you do.
That's kind of all I do.
I don't know the real you.
And then we got to SNL, and I was doing that for someone like Odenkirk or Smigel, and they said, "No, that's a sketch. That's a sketch." And I was like, "Oh, that's just a thing that I do."
Right.
And then that
just write that down and make a living.
Many of the things that I've over the years that I wrote for SNL, or any of the things that I over the years did on late night, were just things that I did. Sometimes I would do them in the shower. Right. And my wife to this day will hear me in the shower saying, "You've got some nerve." And they've all just grown accustomed to it, but that's where that came from.
Have you ever, and I apologize if it exists and I haven't seen it, but have you ever spent time doing multiple characters along with your writing, as you would have done had you been on camera at SNL?
What do you mean?
Well, like inhabiting multiple characters, playing some French pastry chef, and then playing a mechanic, and then as you do as a cast member.
I think we've done bits where I've been different people, but
not on the talk show. No. Right? Where you like dress up in costume and there's a wig and there's prosthetics. Just like an SNL cast member.
Yeah. It's interesting because I always, when I was at SNL, I never looked at Dana Carvey or any of those guys and thought, I could be doing that. Because I always knew the difference. I always knew there have been things where we would shoot something. We did something with Liev Schreiber once, which was a parody of that show, Studio 60. Remember there was a show that was a very serious...
Yeah, the Aaron Sorkin
show. Kind of he took a West Wing approach to like a Saturday Night Live, and people were giving him a hard time for it. And we decided to do a parody of it. And so Liev Schreiber, we got him to play me. So it was, and I got to play, so Liev Schreiber has the Conan hair. And my favorite thing is we got me a thin mustache, and you could probably see it online, and waxed back my hair, and I played the producer. And I'm talking to Conan, and I'm saying, "God damn it, Conan. Women want to be with you. Men want to beat you. You've got it all. The looks, the shot." And Liev Schreiber's brooding. And I'm talking about Conan in this,
What was this on?
It was on the late night show. Okay. I mean, we did thousands and thousands of hours of late night shows, and we would fill. So I guess the point is that for me, it's always been, I'm going to quote my dad, and I've quoted him many times on the show with this exact same line, but he always said, you're making your living off of something that should probably be treated because it's very manic and I can't not do it. And I do it. I just got back from a vacation with my wife and kids. I did it there.
Right.
They just tune it out. They're not interested. They, as kids, I would call my kids together when my wife was not around, and I would say, kids, your mother's gone and I need to talk to you. And they would gather around me and they would look up at me and go, is this real or is this a bit? And I'd go, it's just that I think, and they'd go, it's a bit, and walk away. So it's that 24/7.
I love that. I love being just a total whack job with my kids sometimes, but it's such an unreliable audience. I mean,
yes.
they're determined not to laugh.
Of course.
Right? So
No.
it's pain for you and for me to do that.
But also I love it. And
because if you can crack them, you've got something.
But also it's as it should be.
Yeah.
If your children are laughing and saying, God, Dad,
you're the greatest.
You're the greatest.
You got a problem.
You have a real problem.
Right. They want something.
Yeah, exactly.